A NATO commander has called for Ireland to reconsider its neutrality, and warned that ending US military access through Shannon could damage the relationship between our two countries. Good morning, and welcome to the Morning Brief. Today is Thursday, 13th August 2026. I'm Neil, and in the next few minutes I'll take you through the news that matters at home in Ireland, then across to Britain, and out into the wider world. Everything you need to know before the day begins. Ireland. Let's begin here at home, in Ireland. US Air Force General Alexis Grinkovich, the Supreme Allied Commander Europe, has said that Irish neutrality is an important conversation to be had among the Irish people, given changing geopolitical circumstances. He also warned that if Ireland were to end US military access through Shannon Airport, Irish-American ties would suffer. It's a direct intervention in a deeply sensitive constitutional question, one that touches on Ireland's relationship with NATO, with Europe, and with the United States, at a moment when global security is under strain. This goes to the heart of how Ireland sees itself in the world, and how other major powers see us. These are conversations the Irish government and Irish people will now have to navigate carefully. A €5 million counselling scheme for school children has been partially shelved across 7 counties because more than half of the available slots remain unused, the result of a critical shortage of mental health professionals. The HSE does not have enough trained counsellors to staff the service, leaving many children who need support without access to it. It's another illustration of deep gaps in Ireland's mental health infrastructure. For families waiting for their children to get help, this is a concrete setback, and it exposes systemic problems in how the state is resourcing mental health care. A woman and a young boy have been hospitalised in County Clare following an attack by a sheepdog that a dog warden described as extremely vicious. The animal had to be sedated at the scene. The incident has raised questions about animal control and community safety, particularly in rural areas where such incidents carry real and immediate risk. For the families involved, it will be a frightening and difficult time. And for the wider community, it's a reminder of the gaps that can exist between animal welfare and public safety. Éireann has issued a status yellow heat warning for Leinster and Tipperary, as temperatures are expected to rise significantly over the coming hours. Residents in those areas should take precautions, stay hydrated, avoid prolonged sun exposure, and keep an eye on vulnerable family members and neighbours. Heat can be deceptive. It builds quietly and then strikes hard. UK. Now, across the Irish Sea to the UK, nurses across Britain are collapsing during shifts as extreme heat creates dangerous working conditions in NHS hospitals. The Royal College of Nursing has called the situation inhumane and is demanding urgent climate adaptation measures and proper air conditioning in hospital wards. Staff are fainting on the job, a stark sign of how the heatwave is overwhelming even critical infrastructure. Here at home, that means pressure on our own healthcare workers, who watch what happens in the NHS and see the gaps in their own services widen by comparison. Great Britain is braced to pay millions of pounds for backup electricity during today's solar eclipse, which will curtail solar power generation at a time when the grid is already under strain from the 5th heatwave of the summer. Air conditioning demand is at peak. Grid operators may need to source expensive power from other sources to keep the lights on and the cooling running. Why does this matter on this side of the Irish Sea? Because the UK and Ireland share an interconnected electricity grid. When Britain faces supply pressures or pays premium prices for power, Those costs and risks can ripple across to Irish households and businesses. Northern Ireland pupils can view their A and AS level results online from 800 on this morning. Results Day is always a threshold moment, a mix of relief, celebration, and, for some, disappointment. The qualifications are part of the UK system, and many Irish families have children sitting these exams or considering universities across the Irish Sea. For anyone in Dublin, Cork, or Galway with family or friends in the north awaiting these results, it's a day that will matter greatly to them and to their future plans. World. And finally, out into the wider world. Saudi Arabia's Red Sea oil exports have halted due to escalating threats from Houthi attacks. It is a critical disruption to one of the world's most important shipping routes and a threat to global oil supply stability. What happens in the Red Sea affects energy prices everywhere. For Ireland, this matters because disruptions to Middle Eastern oil exports drive up global energy prices, increasing costs for Irish consumers, businesses, and the transport sector that relies on fuel imports. Every time a critical choke point closes, Irish families feel it at the pump and in their heating bills. Ukraine has attacked Russian grain export terminals in the Black Sea, further disrupting global grain supplies already strained by the ongoing conflict. Both Russian and Ukrainian grain exports are falling as port and shipping facilities come under fire. The world's breadbaskets are being squeezed. The knock-on effect for Irish households is real. The country relies heavily on grain imports for its agriculture and food production sectors, and supply disruptions and price spikes directly affect what Irish families pay for food and what Irish farmers can compete with internationally. The European Central Bank is moving toward approving Italy's Unicredit's acquisition of Germany's Commerzbank, a major consolidation in the Eurozone's banking sector, and a significant shift in how European finance is being restructured. It signals a changing landscape for financial power and regulation across the EU. For Ireland, this matters because as an EU member with significant banking sector exposure, changes to Eurozone banking structures affect Irish financial stability, deposit protection, and the availability of credit for Irish businesses and consumers. US inflation data for July shows modest increases, but broader economic concerns remain unresolved. The world's largest economy continues to show mixed signals on its growth trajectory, leaving uncertainty about what comes next. Closer to home, this matters because the US is a major trading partner and home to many Irish multinational employers. Weakness in the American economy could reduce demand for Irish exports and impact job security in key sectors like pharmaceuticals and technology. A lot moving this morning. Geopolitical tensions abroad, disruptions to energy and food supply chains, and at home, fundamental questions about Ireland's role in a changing world, alongside serious gaps in mental health and healthcare provision. And that's the morning brief for today. Whatever the day brings, take it steady. I'm Neil. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Until then, look after yourself. And there's more positive news on the shipping front. Major carriers Maersk and Hapag-Lloyd are resuming more sailings through the Suez Canal, indicating that security risks in that critical waterway have reduced. This is good news for global trade flows, as it means lower shipping costs and faster delivery times for goods moving between Asia and Europe. Why does this matter on this side of the Irish Sea? Because lower shipping costs mean Irish imports from Asia arrive faster and cheaper, benefiting consumers and businesses across the economy, while also making Irish exports more competitive on distant markets. A lot moving this morning. Tensions abroad on energy and supply chains, a state working group at home tackling insurance and flood risk, and farmers waiting to hear how EU budget talks will shape their future. And that's the morning grief for today. Whatever the day brings, take it steady. I'm Neil. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Until then, look after yourself.